Welcome to a quick cue. I have weekly horrible guests that attacks me completely at random. So to help me hear the full story, I pretend to have technical difficulties while I hotbox with my fart box. Enjoy. Welcome to a quick cue. I'm your host Nick. What's up, everyone? Today I have a great friend with me today. Her name is Paige, or I call her the Professor. How's it going, Paige?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Now, Quick Cue is a podcast where I ask one question, and the guest will have up to 5 minutes to answer the question with no follow up questions. When the host says, hold up, stop talking. When he says, I'm all clear, continue. I'm new to this, so I make a lot of mistakes. That's why I say that part, Paige. You cool with that?
That sounds great.
All right, you ready for your question?
Yes, sir. Hit me.
Uh, all right, your question is, do you believe in the idea of Santa?
Hmm. The idea of Santa. Okay. Um, I like the idea of Santa, but not as everyone does Santa. So I feel like Santa is cool, but there needs to be Santa rules. And if we could make them national Santa rules, that would be ideal. Because the problem with Santa is that, well, first of all, you're lying to your children, which, like, everyone lies to their children. You need to sometimes, fine. But it's like a pretty big lie for like a pretty extended period of time, which is maybe sort of a weird precedent to set. But if the idea is to try to, convince kids to try to do well with some sort of extrinsic motivation, I can kind of get behind that.
Hold
And
up. I'm all clear.
And then I also sort of feel like it kind of gives you faith in other people as a kid that you maybe wouldn't normally have because you don't know Santa. Like, you know that he kind of watches you, but you've never, like, given him anything really except for maybe, like, the cookies to leave out for him, and then he gives you gifts. So, like, I feel like that's kind of cool.
Hold up.
Um,
Hold up. I'm all clear.
I will say that the one thing that I feel like we should do as a nation with Santa is there should be rules on the gifts that Santa can give to kids because it's not super fair when like super wealthy parents have Santa give their kids like all sorts of crazy shit and then other parents can't do the same thing. So I feel like Santa should give like small gifts like socks or hats or candies or maybe like one smaller toy, but it shouldn't be like all the big stuff. Like that should come from your parents so that it's clear to kids that if you are, if your family's not doing as well as somebody else's family, it's not that you weren't good enough or you didn't try hard enough or something like that. It's just that Santa gives everybody little stuff and then your parents were able to give you more more things or bigger ticket items or sort of however you want to think about that.
Hold up. I'm all clear.
Lastly, I sort of feel like the idea is a little bit creepy if you think too much about it, but as a kid, you don't think that much about it, so that makes it a little bit more understandable. But if you told me now as an adult that I was supposed to be okay with some dude breaking into my house in the middle of the night to give me something, I'd be like, I'm all set. I'm not interested. No, thank you.
Hold up. I'm all clear.
So I do feel like that might be sort of just a difference between being an adult and being a kid is that they're like, "Oh, gifts? Yeah, you can totally come into my house. Like that's totally cool with me." I don't feel that I would feel that way as an adult now, but maybe that's part of the magic. Um, I also feel like he has a weird relationship with his workers and his wife. Sometimes it's written as really great, but I had a student last year that wrote a really fantastic short story about how Santa was actually evil and the elves and Mrs. Claus rose up against him and murder him. Uh, she was supposed to be writing a children's book, and I tried to explain that most children's books don't have murder in them, but she wasn't really interested in hearing about it, so
Hold up. I'm all clear.
I let her write the story, and it was deeply creative and really fantastic, but I do think it's funny that kids also have their own weird ideas or sort of visions of Santa that maybe we don't intend for them to have or that we don't think of ourselves, but that they come up with on their own because they're such creative, interesting individual people, which I think we sometimes forget.
Oh, that was an excellent answer. Thank you, Paige. Well, I just want to say that, once again, thank you again, and I hope the listeners feel slow introspection after a quick cue. Thank you and good night. This podcast was recorded in June 2020 during the COVID-19 outbreak. Everyone on this podcast recorded from the comfort of their own home.
Wear a mask and vote.